Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be walking you through the process of safely and easily putting a first ride on your colt. We've done 4 videos in this series up to this point, taught this horse to lunge and do some basic groundwork. We did desensitizing, we prepped him for the saddle, and then we did his first saddling session. So I'll be sure to link that playlist below if you guys are interested in checking that out. Let's get into the video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start this horse off in a side pull here. And what I love about it is that it gives me the point of contact that you would have for a bit, but it gives the familiar pressure that the horse may deal with a rope halter. So it's one less thing that horse has to think about versus putting the first ride on in a snaffle or something like that. And I also love the fact that I can put a normal headstall on it and my leather reins that I really like to use. It just has worked out really, really well for me and has been so easy to transfer them to the snaffle afterward. But if you choose to start your horse in another piece of headgear, all these steps are going to work out the same. Before I turned the camera on, I made sure to go through my pre-flight checklist, you might say. I went over all the exercises that we've worked on up to this point, just gave him a refresher, made sure that he was comfortable and present and aware of what we were doing, okay? You don't want to come out here and just expect them to pick up right where you left off the day before, okay? We want to kind of get them warmed up, make sure they're acclimated, make sure they're open-minded to that first ride and that they're comfortable and relaxed. Now, what I'm going to do first here is to lunge this horse in the headgear that I'm going to be riding him in, okay? I think this is a very, very important step that's often overlooked, and the reason I like to do this so much is it really shows you where your holes are going to be at and allows you to know if your horse really is getting off the pressure of the rein. It helps you to be more thorough in your steering, and it connects the reins to the feet a lot more than if you were just to get on and try to do this, okay? So you'll notice that I have him on a much tighter circle here. I'm asking him to stay relaxed and soft to the body. If I pull on the rein, I want him to bring his feet toward me. And then another exercise that I want to be able to do is to be able to draw on this rein across the circle and send that horse the other direction without having to do anything special. I want him to follow the rein and get his feet over there and change directions, okay? So we're gonna work on this till it's really thorough, till anytime I pick up that rein and move him over, he's willing and he understands his job. This step is going to be especially important if you're starting your horse in a bit because it will feel quite a bit different to your horse than the halter that you've used up to this point. So when I prepared him out here, what I want to do is to simulate some of the stimulus that this horse is going to be experiencing once I'm in the saddle. So that means I'm going to move these stirrups around, slap them up and down. I'm going to slap the saddle and just make sure that he's okay with the noise and the feeling of it. I don't want to see any flinch from him wherever I put these stirrups, whenever I slap them up and down, because things can get unpredictable once you're on the horse's back. And what we don't want to have is that maybe the horse jumps really abruptly and your leg kind of bumps him in a way that you weren't intending or expecting it to, and nor was that horse expecting, and then it becomes an echo chamber of negative feedback and you end up getting bucked off, and then your horse is a little bit traumatized and it's a bad experience for everybody. So again, we want to eliminate these things that might startle the horse, and I'm not really seeing any sort of worry from this horse. If your horse is more worried, as many will be, take your time, go a little bit slower. These steps are still going to work the same regardless of whether you're working with a lazy quarter horse that can be started in one day or you're working with a warm blood that takes closer to a month before you put its first ride on, okay? It's just that some of them have to be done a lot more consistently, a lot longer on different types of horses, but the steps all work the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump up and down next to him, and what I'm looking for here is, again, testing that response to see how he's handling the commotion around him, okay? If he's getting tight in the top line, if he's looking at me out of that inside eye, the ears flicking back and forth, any sort of signs of anxiety or worry about this, I'm going to continue to do this until those disappear. And one thing I want to bring out a lot is that I unlock the feet and then I go back to doing this again. And then I'll lead the horse forward and unlock the feet and then go back to doing this exercise again. What can often happen is that people will do some sort of desensitizing exercise with their horse, and that horse is uncomfortable with it, so he kind of internalizes it and he shuts down and he locks up and he's like, as long as I don't look at what's happening, then I won't die, you know? And then when you lead him forward or you try to do this stimulus at a walk or you get on him and do it, then things fall apart because that horse didn't actually absorb the information. He never was actually comfortable with it. He was just trying to survive and tolerate until it went away. So we always want to be sure that you walk your horse forward, make sure that you get those feet unlocked, make sure they're breathing and they're engaged so that they can absorb that information, okay? An engaged horse is a learning horse. That's why you see me sometimes do an exercise, walk them forward, do the exercise again, walk them forward. Keep those feet unlocked, keep the mind engaged. Now, another thing that I don't show a whole lot on here because I'm trying to keep the footage engaging, I'm trying to keep things moving, is that I spend a lot of time letting my horses stop and soak. This is so extremely vital. If your horse has done something right, if you've done something and made progress with the horse and something clicks in their mind, stop and let them soak, okay? Reward the effort, take the time necessary to let the horse just rest. Our next step is to tie the reins up to the saddle, and I'm going to lunge this horse off at a walk, trot, and lope and make sure that he's comfortable and confident before I step on him. Now, I'm not one of those people that wants to run my horses until they're almost dead and then get on them and put their first ride on them. I don't want my horse in that state for the first ride, but what I do want to do is to make sure that I kind of take a little bit of the fun out of it for them. I want them in a thinking frame of mind versus a playful or reactive frame of mind, okay? So you can see this horse has a little bit of energy when he's running around here. He has moments every time that I add a little bit of energy, he squirts off instead of just kind of rolling into that lope. I don't want there to be a big reaction to me putting pressure on him. I want it to be to where he thinks about it for a moment and then he goes. Everything needs to be a little bit slower, a little bit more deliberate. If I notice that that horse has tons of energy to rush off every single time I ask for him to move or change directions, I know that there's still a little bit more energy in that horse than I want to put the first ride on, okay? Keep this in mind and watch for those signs. Once your horse is a little bit more relaxed, his head starts to drop, he's loping with a little bit more cadence, those are the signs we're looking for. That tells us the horse is ready. What I'm going to do here is to step up and down several times. It really allows the horse to feel the pressure in the stirrup and see us above them. And what you'll notice is that I turn my hip toward the horse's hip, okay? I step up there, I stay very close to him. I'm not hanging off the side of him, but I'm also not folded over the top of him, okay? So I try to keep my body pretty straight. I rub him on both sides of the neck. I keep that nose tip toward me a little bit, and then I go ahead and step back down. If the horse is kind of starting to spiral and spin away from me a little bit and I can feel the energy picking up rather than slowing down, I'm going to step down and then help that horse calm down again before I step back up again. And we're going to repeat this process until that horse is very comfortable with me stepping up there, leaning over, petting him on both sides, and then I will step down and we'll do it on the other side, okay? Once again, we want to be very thorough on both sides before we step on. Now, when I get up here, I don't want to sit here like a statue. I sit on my horse and then I continue to move my legs and my arms and breathe. It's kind of like the saddling process. I told you when we put the saddle on for the first time, we keep moving. I don't sneak around my horses. They know I'm there. I'm not pretending not to be there, and I don't want to ever startle them at any point, okay? So I'm going to keep talking to them. I keep them thinking, I keep them engaged so that they don't have the time to worry about what could go wrong. So if you guys want to see the full and uncut versions of these videos, you can find this whole colt starting series on our membership over at successfulhorseman.com. I'll put the link in the description below. And we offer a lot of exclusive content over there, ranch riding information, problem solving, as well as a long form version of the videos that you see here. So there's a lot more in-depth teaching that you can find there. But the biggest perk of our membership is that you can submit your own video requests on specific problems you may be dealing with your horse, things that you haven't found an answer to elsewhere on YouTube or on the internet. And we want to be able to take that information and produce a video specifically for you that helps you through these problems. So on top of all the other information that we offer, that is the thing that we're most excited about. So hop on over and check it out, join the waitlist, and be sure to submit those requests when you get there. Let's get back to the video. All right, so once I'm on him and I'm ready to walk him off, what I want to do is to just get those front feet unlocked. Even if the horse is on a pretty small circle, I recommend going to the left first. I don't step on from the left and then ask them to go right, because that can be a little bit scary, a little bit startling for them, especially on more reactive type horses. Probably wouldn't bother this one, but we're going to stick with the program. Okay. So just get those front feet unlocked. I don't care how small the circle is. Often a horse will want to keep its front feet locked up and it'll just spiral the hip around, or vice versa. Once you get the front feet unlocked, then I just like to leave them alone, just let him walk. And you can see how small the steps are here. This horse is still a little bit timid. He doesn't exactly know what he's going to be doing. So we're going to focus on just getting him moved out at the walk first. Once I see those steps lengthen and that horse's head starts to drop a little bit and there's a little bit better cadence and impulsion here, then we can start thinking about doing some more steering and trotting. A big thing that I want to point out is that if your horse argues about direction, do not fight with him. He is just confused about what the reins mean. And this is your opportunity to offer him some guidance. Hold his hand through it and show him what the right answer is. If you get in a fight with this horse at this point, it can make him very claustrophobic and things can go south really fast. So I just kind of leave my arm like a bungee cord. I keep the feel on the rein, but I let him pull back and forth, and I just say, hey, we're going this way. I just keep that gentle guidance on there till he releases to it and steps in the direction I'm asking him to go. But at no point do I lock down and say, no, we are absolutely going to go left or going to go right at this point, okay? It's not a fight. Be gentle with them, kind of bungee your arm and give that horse consistent guidance, but don't fight with him. So we're gonna get this horse moved up to a trot as soon as possible. Like I mentioned before, I stay in the walk until I feel some relaxation and impulsion happen there, and to where I can kind of steer and guide them around a little bit. But I don't want to stay in the walk super long, because the longer you stay in the walk, especially on a more relaxed horse, then the more likely they are to get a little bit sold up, tired, and end up quitting on you later, okay? If you have a really feely, high energy horse, one that's already prone to want to go very badly, you can stay in the walk longer because there's more work to be done at a walk, and it takes these horses a little bit longer to get relaxed and trust you. You want to do this to be safe. But like I said, if you have one that's pretty lazy, gets sold up easy, doesn't have as much energy in them like this one, then you're going to want to move out sooner, okay? So I'm going to bring him up to a trot as soon as I feel that he's a little bit more relaxed and move him out there. I don't want to nag my horse too long. You can see I'm spanking him here. If you have to get after your horse, do, because what we don't want to do is sit here and nag this horse till either he's completely dull or to where he gets frustrated and decides he doesn't want us on him anymore. All right? You want this to be a good experience for your horse. So set firm boundaries when you need to. When I get him moved up to the trot, the goal is similar to the walk. We want to get some guidance in the feet to where I can steer him around to where he understands what he's doing. But the most important part for me on these first rides is the cadence and the forward motion, okay? If I can get some cadence and forward motion, then all those other maneuvers are going to fall into place. But getting that impulsion shows me that the horse is starting to get relaxed and comfortable, okay? We're gonna steer him around here a little bit. We're going to change directions. Once again, if he's arguing with you about direction, take your time, slow down, be gentle with him, and offer him the guidance that he needs. When I go to back this horse up for the first time, all I want to do is to see this horse kind of rock back and take one step backward. It's not going to be a big move, and we're not going to ask him for multiple steps at a time. So sometimes I will gently kind of seesaw back and forth on that horse, just ever so slightly, so I can kind of shift the weight back and forth. This is not to hurt the horse's face and saw on him till he backs up like you'll see some people do. This is simply to shift the weight back and forward and kind of get those feet unlocked so he can back up. That's my goal in doing that. Often your horse will argue with you on the first time. His head will go right, his head will go left, because up to this point you haven't actually asked him to back up. And what I do want to point out, especially on the more forward and feely ones and ones that aren't going to handle pressure as well, I want you to do this exercise on the ground before you step on, okay? You're going to put the reins up near the saddle, and you're going to make sure that that horse can back up with the pressure from the reins before you step on them, because this is an entirely different feel for them, and it can take a while for them to figure out. I don't want your horse getting claustrophobic and going up and over. So when I ask for this backup here, I'm just going to wait him out. I'm going to gently hold on those reins. His head's going right and left. He's looking for the right answer, and I'm just going to gently hold him there till he finds it and that weight rocks back. One step at a time, okay? If I have a horse that's really fighting with me in this backup, what I'm going to do is to break the hip loose, get those feet moving again, and then I'll go straight back into the backup again. If we can get that hip kind of disengaged and get them soft through the body, you can kind of bend them down around in a smaller circle, break the hip loose, and then just gently draw on them once you have that hip completely broken loose, and you'll always get those feet to go back, okay? Once you feel your horse is relaxed and confident at a trot, we're going to go ahead and move him up to lope. Now this step is kind of optional. I don't think you need to walk, trot, and lope on the first ride. There's a lot of times I have not, because it was in the horse's best interest that I did not. There are some horses that are way too feely, there's way too much going on. Just getting them to walk and trot relaxed is enough progress for one day, and we want to leave them on a good note. Keep that in mind as we progress. This horse obviously is taking everything really well, and so we're going to go ahead and ask him up to a lope. With horses like this that are a little bit more laid back and could get sold up a little easier, I actually want to push them out faster, and I usually want to end on that note so that they remember moving out and getting relaxed while they're moving out. What you don't want to do here is to spend too much time nagging this horse at a trot to go into the lope. You don't want to bump him with your legs over and over and over and over again. Make several laps around there, round pen to where he's completely exhausted, he's done trying, he's dull off your leg, and he quits on you, okay? So if your legs aren't working, you're clucking, you're asking him to move out with your body and nothing's happening, go ahead and start spanking him with that rein and progressively apply more and more pressure until that horse goes, okay? When we turned him loose and I was asking him to lope, I also take my stick and string and I make sure I spank him on the butt several times and that it's not like something he freaks out about. He tucks his tail and runs faster, okay? I want him to be comfortable taking that pressure before we even get to this point. But you will often get a little bit of a response out of them, like I did here. This horse squirted off a little bit here. You can see he kind of wanted to kick up a little bit. He didn't love that, but he came right back to me when I asked him to. What I don't want to do here is to stop and camp out. If your horse squirts off like this, if they kick up a little bit, if they do something sporadic, do not stop and camp out. That is literally the worst thing you can do in that moment. Keep those feet moving, whether it's at a walk or a trot. Cluck, kiss, get the impulsion back in their feet. Make sure they know, hey, we're not stopping, we're not relaxing here, we're not camping out. We're going to keep moving. Now, what I did here is when he kind of squirted off like that, I brought him back to me. I made him check in, but then I started pretty aggressively hustling those feet around. And the reason I didn't directly push him back off into a lope again is because his neck got really stiff. He got really tight in the top line, and I knew if I were to push him directly back into that lope, there was a high chance that he would have escalated the behavior versus bringing it back, okay? So I took him in some tight circles here. You can see I'm waiting until he really unlocks the feet and gets relaxed again, and I have a little bit more control of that face and that chin before I ask him for the lope again. Once we get into the lope here, he's a little bit more relaxed. I'm just gonna go for couple strides, maybe 3 strides at a time, and then let them come back to me and reward that effort, okay? Another thing you're gonna notice is that when I bring him back down from a lope, I like to keep them moving, okay? I wanna keep them at a walk. I don't come from a lope to a stop and then just camp out because I don't really want them abruptly shutting down like that, okay? I want them to continuously keep moving. So I go from a lope to a walk a lot, walk a little bit, keep them full impulsion in the feet, and then I'll go ahead and ask for the lope again. Now you can see here he's getting pretty annoyed with me lightly spanking him with that rein, and the important thing to do here is to actually bring the pressure up instead of backing off on it. So if I continue to stay right here with this same amount of pressure and just keep tapping him, it's likely to get him to where he wants to shut down a little bit more or kick out. My goal right now is to get him to where he rolls over into lope really easily when I ask, to where I can kind of step up on that throttle and he goes with me instead of me having to push, and then he finally goes. I want him to understand what his job is. It's not necessarily to go for a long time so much as it is when I ask you to speed up, you step into the lope. Now that he's a little more relaxed in the lope, he's getting around this round pin pretty easily. What I'm going to do is to break him to the trot and change directions, and we're going to lope off the other direction right away. I've found this is the easiest way to do it when that horse is kind of in that forward loping frame of mind. Instead of bringing them down, camping out, piddling around, doing something else, if you just change directions, lope them right off the other way, things go a lot more smoothly. So he picked up a lope pretty nicely, but he's on the wrong lead. And I'm not really going to make a big deal out of this because I found that often if you make a deal out of something, then it can actually become worse. What I'm happy about is the effort. I'm happy that he's trying. I'm happy that he's going into that lope pretty easily. When I was younger, I used to pick on so many things. I would really make a big deal out of what lead they were on in the first few rides. And now I've found that actually can hinder you if you start focusing on those things versus just getting good impulsion and relaxation with that horse. Often what's happening if your horse is picking up the wrong lead on the first few rides is that they're not relaxed through their body. They're still worried about what's happening, and this is kind of a side effect of what's going on in their mind. So if you can get that horse really relaxed, let him know he's doing his job right, that correct lead might just come right into place, okay? There's a lot of great impulsion here, so I want to reward the effort. I'm just gonna let him catch his breath and think about it for a minute before we go again. All right, so we'll go ahead and ask him to pick up the lope one more time. He got the right lead here. I'm really happy about that. He feels really relaxed through his body, so I'm not going to ask him to lope longer. I'm going to reward that. I'm going to bring him back, and we're going to stop loping on that note. Normally I would stop here. I want to get off where the horse's feet are freed up and he's thinking about moving out. But today I want to guide him around and get him a little bit more soft to my hands before we stop. He's a pretty stiff horse by nature, so this is one of the things he's struggled with all along. Even on the lead line, I've had to spend a lot of time getting him soft through the body, and this is the where I want to quit. I can tell this is going to be a little bit of an ongoing struggle for this horse. So if we can stop while he's guiding around softly, you can see he's arguing with me a little bit here, and he just continues to soften up as we go, okay? I really like the response he's giving me right now. And what I want to point out to you as I do this is that I'm guiding out and not back. This is a very common mistake people make, is to pull back, to draw back, instead of guiding out with their horses and really giving them that clear direction of where they want him to go. Now that he's a lot more soft and a lot more content, I'm going to go ahead and step off here, and we'll call it a day. Now that we have another successful first ride in the books, it's time for you guys to go start your own colts. Let me know how it goes. I can't wait to hear about it.